Well, it's week 3 in the NFL, and the Atlanta Falcons are back in Mercedes-Benz Stadium as they get set to host the back-to-back defending Super Bowl champions in the Kansas City Chiefs. Can this Falcons defense cut off the connection between Patrick Mahomes and Travis Kelce, and can Kirk Cousins and the Falcons offense keep their connection that they seem to find against the Philadelphia Eagles on Monday Night Football? Thank you guys for joining us for the Falcons pregame show presented by Ticketmaster, Taylor Vismor, Derek Rackley. It's already electric in here. I mean, we got, an hour until the game starts, and I already feel the electricity. How you feeling tonight?
I mean, I can get used to this primetime stuff because it just seems like there's, as you mentioned, a little bit more energy. It seems like the hair on my arm stands up just a little bit more, maybe a little bit too much information. We do have the roof open, probably can't see it, but we've got some natural light coming into the stadium, at least for now. Obviously, it's going to get dark later, and we got a big-time matchup coming up for you here on Sunday Night Football.
I got a little bit of that golden hour hitting me right now with that sunset. I'm loving it right now. Like, keep the Sunday Night Football games coming because I love it. This is a huge game, and we're going to talk about all things Kansas City Falcons. We're even going to talk about the Philadelphia Eagles and the Falcons from Monday Night Football, not that wild 2-minute drive here in a second. But for those of you who are in here today, this is a special day because during halftime, owner Arthur Blank will be inducted into the Falcons Ring of Honor. He is the only owner to be inducted into the Ring of Honor, and it is a huge accomplishment. It's a huge deal, and I know that you were part of the Falcons organization when he bought the team.
Yeah.
Can you kind of speak to who Arthur Blank is as an owner and what kind of memories you might have with him?
Yeah, I got to know him when he bought the team, and you could obviously go back and research all the information as far as how much he paid for the team and how much it's worth now. I think that's a testament to what he's done as this organization, how he's continued to grow it. But it's not about that with Arthur Blank. It's about doing things for the team and for the community, and that's what's so special about him. We'll hear a little bit more about that in a moment, but two quick stories for me. I think about when I was doing community appearances after he became the owner, he wanted players to get out around the state, not just around Atlanta, to go meet Falcons fans and mingle with Falcons fans. And what he would do is he would allow us to fly on his private jet to go do community appearances down in southeast Georgia. I thought that was unbelievable.
Yeah.
Now, granted, my first time riding a private jet, but it was an awesome experience for me to be able to go in different parts of the state as a Falcons player to go meet different people from the community because it was so important to Arthur Blank. And my second story is more about football. There was a time when he came in, we had a team meeting room, and he was so passionate about the way we were playing. And he showed that passion. It wasn't like he was just an owner talking to us. It was almost like he raised his voice a little bit and just showed the passion about this is what we need to do to win football games. Owners don't normally do that. Owners stay in their lane. They manage the business from the top down. But that just showed us as players like, this guy's not playing around, and he is truly invested on what we were doing on the field, and he wants to produce a winner. And that's what I can appreciate so much about Arthur Blank.
Something about Arthur Blank that many of you might not know is that when the Falcons are winning or losing, towards the end of the game, he always comes down to the field to just remind the players and the coaches that he is part of this team too. It's not just I'm the owner and you're the team. He is part of this team as well. He makes decisions for this team. He's he's an intricate part of making this 53-man roster each and every year. And as celebration for Arthur Blank and what he has done for this community, sidebar, I forgot to even mention this, he has this whole thing with concession stands, which is family-friendly pricing so that your family can come to Mercedes-Benz Stadium for concerts, Atlanta United, Atlanta Falcons, whatever it may be, college football even, and not break the bank on feeding your family to come and make memories. One of my favorite memories that I have as a kid was going to a game with my dad. It was a Georgia football game, but you make those memories with your parents, with your family when you're a kid, and to be able to come here to Mercedes-Benz Stadium, not break the bank on the concession stand is so awesome because it just creates so many memories. And so the Mercedes-Benz Stadium and Levy today, to celebrate Arthur Blank being inducted into the Ring of Honor, they have decided to do a giveaway, 2 free hot dogs, a bag of chips, I don't know if I can really show it, and a memorabilia cup, if I can grab it.
There are actually hot dogs in here, just so you know.
They are, and I'm not going to eat it for you guys, but I will show you guys. Great hot dogs. I've had them before. I have one every single game up in the press box. They're great. So if you are here in Mercedes-Benz Stadium, make sure to get some hot dogs. How many hot dogs do you think you could eat in one game?
Do we have to go there?
Just guess.
Like 4?
4.
Yeah.
That's it. Okay.
I don't even want to talk about that. I'm not like a professional hot dog eater, and I don't want my stomach to start gurgling in the middle of a show.
Sure, but there is a professional hot dog eater here tonight. Joey Chestnut is in the house. I mean, like,
well
that's
done.
where the electricity is coming from. It's Joey Chestnut. That's here. But for those of you in Mercedes-Benz Stadium, make sure to get a cup, get some hot dogs, get some chips, and enjoy
it's the celebration.
Come on, it's in the induction of Arthur Blank into the Ring of Honor.
Arthur Blank is one of those true professionals in everything he does.
Since I joined the organization in July of '03, it's been clear that Arthur is our North Star.
His impact on the franchise, his impact on the city continues. Today, as big as it was 10 years ago, as big as it was 20 years ago.
You know, he takes a lot of his time and his energy to get involved and give back over the West Side and investing and helping that community.
His fan-friendly pricing was something that we replicated at the Hawks. He puts the fan first.
You talk about the best owner in football. Arthur Blank is always trying to innovate and move forward.
Everything he's done, he's had a vision to make things better. From obviously building the Mercedes-Benz here to improving players' facility. Everything that he kind of touches, everything flourishes.
He's elevated the people in our organization. He's elevated the city of Atlanta and the entire National Football League.
He cares deeply about people. He cares deeply about his community. He's the most generous man I think I've ever met.
My life is so much richer, and so are all the fans down in Atlanta for having you be their owner.
So I just want to say congratulations to Arthur. Certainly well deserved. I wish him all the best.
It's well overdue, AB. You know, you deserve everything that comes your way. I just been appreciative to be a part of it.
I appreciate everything you did to change my life. Always been proud of you. Always been proud to say I was a Falcon.
Arthur, congrats. Well deserving, of course, to be inducted to the Ring of Honor. So congratulations.
Arthur, there is no finish line. Your tireless efforts of making sure that the city of Atlanta, the state of Georgia are striving to be the best. Thank you.
Congratulations to Mr. Arthur Blank for his induction into the Falcons Ring of Honor tonight. It's going to be really fun to watch that. But let's talk about something that was also really fun to watch. That was the Monday Night Football game that was in Philadelphia against the Eagles. 22-21, Falcons on top. I mean, the game from start to finish was so fun to watch. But just one thing that you took away that really impressed you about this Falcons team. Just one thing.
All right, how about we fast forward all the way to the 2-minute drill when the Atlanta Falcons ends up getting the ball back and Kirk Cousins takes over. And I know there was probably a lot of people that were like, oh gosh, how's this going to go? A 2-minute drill to win the game. Well, then Kirk Cousins goes Pitts, Mooney, London, incompletion, London for the touchdown, and then not to forget the Younghoe Koo extra point after the penalty to end up giving the Atlanta Falcons the lead. And Kirk Cousins in the second half was just masterful. 13 of 16, 166 yards, 2 touchdowns, no interceptions. Look at the contrast between the second half and the first half. And Taylor, I talked about this before we came on the air, is that second half of Kirk Cousins culminating with that 2-minute drill was the Kirk Cousins I think that a lot of people got used to seeing in the National Football League. And I think that's the reason why the personnel department and the coaching staff brought him to this organization, because that's what he's capable of doing when he's hitting on all cylinders. And I think that's what they're looking forward to happening again against the Kansas City Chiefs tonight.
Yeah, I think you saw a pro's pro in Kirk Cousins in that 2-minute drill. And I actually had the privilege of speaking with Chris Collinsworth this week, who's calling the game tonight for Sunday Night Football. And he was talking about, that first game, that first week, because no one plays in the preseason anymore, it's not a wash, but it kind of is. You have to give the players time to find their groove, to find the connection. And I think in week 2, you really saw it with Kirk Cousins and the wideouts and his just pass game, wide receivers.
Yeah.
But something that impressed me the most, I think obviously there were so many questions about this Falcons offense coming into this game. Where was Kirk going to line up? Can Zach Robinson make adjustments for Philadelphia? But for me, I wanted to see if this Falcons defense was going to be able to play at a high level all 4 quarters. And I think that they were able to do that. Yes, Jalen Hurts got away a couple of times, but that's the nature of the game. That is the song that he plays each and every week. He's going to use his feet against you. But I think over the grand scheme of things, when you look look at all 4 quarters, this Falcons defense was able to play at an elite level, which makes me more comfortable if I'm a Falcons fan going into this game, taking on someone like Patrick Mahomes.
Yeah, it says all 3 phases showed up at the most opportune times in that game against the Eagles for them to be able to come away with a victory. And it was great to see because you've got to have all 3 phases if you're going to win football games in the National Football League, and they got it last week.
That's right. I think a lot of people were also wondering if the Monday Night Football lights, can you hear these people behind me? The Monday Night Football lights were going to get to this Falcons team, and they obviously didn't. And the same question holds for tonight on Sunday Night Football. First Sunday Night Football game the Falcons have had since 2019, and they don't think that the lights are going to affect them at all.
Playing a great football team like the Chiefs, if anything, heightens your focus. It enables you to lock in and know that you got to be at your best, and that they'll make you pay if you're not.
There's a lot of chemistry in that offense with Kelsey, and just those guys, some of the younger guys, they kind of take after Kelsey a little bit as well. As there's a first part of the play and then there's a second part of the play, and that's where they've made a lot of their plays at.
The arm and the ability that he has with his arm to really make any throw at any time was special, and then you just saw the instincts and the vision.
He's the best, and you don't want to ever argue with history, but when you talk about in the game right now, being a 2-time Super Bowl champion the last 2 years, multiple, even beyond that, and going to multiple Super Bowls, being one of the best players that's played our game.
I've had my battles with him. Something I always say about him and, a lot of really good quarterbacks is they're able to play on time and they're able to extend plays and be able to create plays with their feet and also look downfield and actually still throw it.
He can extend plays like no other, you know what I'm saying? And he's very elusive, very athletic, and then, he can cover all the ground that he loses with his arm, throwing if he got to throw it all the way across the field and it's pinpoint.
An incredibly smart guy is maybe the one thing that you just don't know. You watch him operate and how quickly he can diagnose and get his guys in and out of the right play is very impressive.
He's definitely going to go down in that argument with the best of the best when you get into those arguments when they happen, whenever he's done. And he's still going, and he's going this week, and he's certainly a problem no matter what. And he's one of the best that we've seen just whatever generation you want to talk about.
Sunday Night Football, it's at home. What a great opportunity, and we're looking forward to it.
All right, so they hope that the Sunday Night Football lights don't get them bogged down, but someone who might get them bogged down tonight is Patrick Mahomes. He is the face of this organization. He might be one of the faces of the NFL as a whole. He is the top of his game among all quarterbacks in the NFL right now. It's the $1 million question. How do you stop a Patrick Mahomes?
Yeah, it's extremely difficult. You look at him in week 1, obviously nearly 300 yards passing, did have the interception, but then you look at week 2 and you're like, wow, it was a down week for Patrick Mahomes, only 150 yards passing. He threw 2 interceptions, but they still came away with the victory. So some people might get lulled to sleep by thinking, well, Patrick's not playing very well, so the Falcons have a great shot. I would not get lulled into that comparison because, in my opinion, Patrick Mahomes on any given week can pop out and he can go for 350, if not more passing yards because he's that good. You go back to that video piece, all the different compliments that were given from the Falcons organization on what he can do. But you know what was interesting? What they all talked about, Taylor, was his ability to extend plays.
Exactly.
Jesse Bates said there's the first part and the second part. They talked about him being able to play off script. In my opinion, he's the best off-script quarterback in the league right now, maybe all time. And you look at Travis Kelce, he's another one of those guys that flourishes when the play breaks down.
Yeah.
Because as soon as Patrick Mahomes has to go out there and kind of like play on the fly, play street ball a little bit,
right,
that's when they end up getting Kelce wide open. That's when they get the big plays because he is so good and he's so comfortable and not panicking. Once he senses pressure, he keeps his eyes downfield. And quite frankly, he's got the ability to do things that most quarterbacks in the National Football League simply cannot.
Yeah, Patrick Mahomes, both head coach Raheem Morris and defensive coordinator Jimmy Lake both mentioned how Patrick Mahomes has this innate ability to maybe throw away the first play, but find a second play, find a third play, find a fourth play, all in one play. All with him having the ball and scrambling and figuring it out. He'll make you run sideline to sideline, and he'll still get his pass off, and it'll be a huge gain. So what you cannot do is you cannot let Patrick Mahomes get in your head. You can't let him run all over you. And insanely hard to do, especially when he has a connection with someone like Travis Kelce.
Yeah.
He and Travis, they kind of joke about it all the time. There'll be times where he doesn't even know where Travis is. He doesn't even know what route Travis Kelce is running, but yet they find each other because they have that connection, that chemistry. Last week was the first week since 2018 Travis Kelce did not have 3 or more receptions from Patrick Mahomes. Does that make you tilt your head a little bit when you hear about that, or does that just, that's just how they played?
Yeah, I think that could probably be those oddities, if you will, that just doesn't happen very often because Kelce is so good. He's going to be a first ballot Hall of Famer, may go down as the best tight end to ever play the position, but he's also the same guy that can end up with 7 catches for over 100 yards and a couple of touchdowns. The last thing that you want to do is allow Patrick Mahomes to get comfortable, for him to get loose and be able to find 87, because he's going to find him all over the field. These two, when plays break down, they have the tendency to find each other's number. And then Kelce, once he gets going, once he gets some momentum, then he starts running over people, and he's got the ability from the tight end position. Again, not very many people can do it in the league from that position to take over a game, but he's proven that he can do that.
Let's talk about the other pass catchers that Patrick Mahomes could be using tonight. Xavier Worthy being one. He's a rookie, but he has had a very good two games so far.
Yeah, he's one of those guys that comes into a very enviable but also difficult position, because when you come and you play with a quarterback like Patrick Mahomes, there's a lot of expectations that he has upon his receivers. Like, you've got to be in the right place at the right time when a certain play is called if he's going to throw you the football, and if not, he's going to check out on you. Yeah. But everything that I've heard is that Xavier Worthy has really flourished in that role. He's earned that respect from his quarterback, and this guy is a burner. I called a couple of his games when he was at Texas. He's in a great position because he's that guy that can take the top off the defense. He can stretch the corners back, stretch the safeties back, and then if he doesn't get the ball, that's going to open things up in the middle for Travis Kelce. That's how this organization continues to put playmakers around Patrick Mahomes. They got to have that speedster on the outside, much like they did with Tyreek Hill. They've got an Xavier Worthy right now.
Yeah, they got it in Worthy, and they had the connection with Travis Kelce, but someone else that may not, blow up the stat sheet for everyone out in the NFL is Rashee Rice. He has 12 receptions in 2 games for 178 yards. That's an average of 14.8 yards per reception. I mean, he has 1 touchdown on the season so far. How do you defend someone like Worthy and Rice and Kelce all in one go?
I mean, these are the challenges that they put you in, because they got guys that maybe have come into the league as later round draft picks, even sometimes as undrafted players, but they've got talent, but they end up in the right system. And again, as I say, they end up getting that trust with Patrick Mahomes, and then he starts throwing them the football. 5 catches, 75 yards, and a touchdown last week. So they've got him, they've got Worthy on the other side, and then Kelce in the middle. That's where they put so much pressure on opposing defenses, again, when they have the running game element, which we'll get to in a little bit with Isaiah Pacheco being out. That kind of changes that dynamic again. But when the Chiefs can run it, and then they've got these 3 guys down the field to throw it to, that's when they get really dangerous.
Yeah, the Chiefs are going against the 7th best passing defense in the Falcons tonight, but where they can make a lot of ground up is on the ground. The Falcons are ranked right now with 26th in rush defense. Obviously, Isaiah Pacheco was placed on IR earlier in the week, but we could see a couple new guys. Can you kind of talk about these guys who might not be well known in the NFL?
Yeah, some of the guys you probably heard of before, Samaje Perine, Keontae Ingram, are a couple guys that have been around for a little bit, but then Carson Steele is another guy that's been a fullback, and he got some run last week, and they're going to kind of try to figure this running game out as they go, because they don't have Pacheco, who just ended up being another one of those dynamic playmakers. He got hurt earlier, so he's going to be out for some time, trying to figure out how are they going to get that run game element. It might be a running back committee with all 3 of these guys. Right. Maybe somebody ends up getting hot. That's just one area that they can't let their guard down and think, oh, because they don't have Pacheco, let's focus a little bit more on the passing game. That's when you end up getting beat in the run game.
Well, let's talk about this Kansas City defense and flip to the Falcons offense a little bit. Obviously, against the Philadelphia Eagles, it seemed like Kirk Cousins had kind of found his stride a little bit, found the comfortability under center and in pistol, shotgun, whatever you want to see him do. I think he did it all in week 1 and week 2. But looking at this Chiefs defensive line, this front 7, if you will, how do you kind of make sure that Kirk Cousins stays in that pocket and has a clean pocket all night long?
You got to make sure you know where Chris Jones is at all the time. And it just seems like every single week that we start talking about a team in the National Football League, it's one certain guy that you got to make sure that he's blocked. And Chris Jones is that player. Defensive tackle who's got 77 sacks in his career and 126 quarterback hits. So what does that tell you? That he finds his way into the opposing backfield. So it's a kind of a strength on strength. You get a really good offensive line from Atlanta Atlanta that's been playing well, even getting better as the season goes on, having to go up against one of the premier defensive tackles in the National Football League. You got to make sure that he's shored up, otherwise he's going to be a problem. Much like week 1 when we faced TJ Watt. If you don't get him blocked, he's going to be a problem. He's just that good of a player. So when the Falcons are on offense, they go to play action, they go to put the ball in the air, they got to make sure that he's shored up. Everybody across that defensive line, but Chris Jones is the guy that creates the most issues.
Yeah, Chris Jones finished last season with 30 tackles, 13 tackles for loss, 10.5 sacks, 29 QB hits, and 4 passes defensed. I mean, that's one season. That's 17 games. It's absolutely asinine what he's able to do with his hands in the ground. But let's talk about this defensive line as a whole. Something to note with them. Every one of their starters, they've only ever played with Kansas City, meaning that they have a connection. They've been with each other for a very long time, much like this Falcons offensive line. Do you think that this game could come down to how clean that these two, the offensive line for the Falcons and the defensive line for the Chiefs, how clean these two can be in the line of scrimmage?
Yeah, I mean, I think most games you could look back and you could say it was won at the line of scrimmage one way or the other. Either somebody ran the ball extremely well or somebody didn't stop the run, or a team that ended up having a lot of passing yards. They threw for over 300 yards, had 2 or 3 passing touchdowns. It was because their offensive line consistently gave the quarterback enough time to throw. It's not so often that you get somebody that's always operating that well off script, meaning running for their lives, hitting checkdowns, and still ending up with 250, 300 yards passing. So most of the time they're always going to say, yes, this is going to come down to a line of scrimmage game. And I think a lot of that happens in this game as well, especially when Atlanta is on offense. That offensive line for the Falcons has got to slow down this pass rush. They've got to keep these linebackers out of the way. And I think we saw last week getting Kirk under center, running more play action, using Bijan Robinson to get eyes separated away from the middle of the defense is only going to help things downfield.
Yeah, this pass rush for this Kansas City defense is lethal, but the pass defense as a whole is a different story. They're ranked 29th in the NFL right now. How can Kirk Cousins kind of pick and prod at this pass defense that isn't doing too hot in the NFL?
Well, again, I think they got to kind of harness some of the momentum from the second half of last week. And it was like the first time that you saw this Falcons offense with Kirk Cousins and Drake London and Kyle Pitts start to hit their stride a little bit. Obviously, Darnell Mooney as well, getting him open in that 2-minute drill. It just gives these guys confidence, and it's, again, one more week of chemistry that they've been able to build with each other and feel that timing. They've just got to feel that comfort where how these guys are coming out of the routes, when do I get rid of the football, and do that before the defense has an opportunity to come break up the ball. Again, I go back to this, and we'll talk about it in a minute, but Bijan Robinson helps so much of this.
Yeah.
His ability to draw eyes on the defense is going to help this passing game more than you know, and Kirk Cousins is going to benefit from that because everybody's want to make sure that number 7 is not going to beat them, whether it's in the running game or the passing game, because he's got the ability to do it.
All right, so speaking of running backs, let's get to the inactives today for both the Chiefs and the Falcons. As many of you know, Isaiah Pacheco was placed on IR earlier this week. He will not be in the game for the next few weeks, working with a fibula fracture on his foot. But right now, I mean, it's kind of the same thing that we've seen from the Falcons the past 3 weeks. What do you make of this? I mean, is there anything to really talk about here?
Not really much to stick out for the Kansas City Chiefs. And even when you look at the Falcons, it's been a lot of their young guys. And I talked about this week 1, and I can say it again for week 3. You could say that's a good thing because you're not having all these rookies coming in having to play major roles, having to start unless it ends up being a first-round draft pick. So those guys, their time will come at some point this season. If not, it's going to be learning through the tape, learning through these games. Not going to play right now, but that means all the guys, the veterans that have a lot of experience that probably have faced Patrick Mahomes before, they're out on the field and they're playing.
Yeah, there's been so many injuries throughout the NFL already in just 3 weeks of play, and thankfully for both of these teams, they're not really dealing with a lot of injuries right now. So it should be good on good on good on good.
That's it.
All
That's
4 quarters. So let's talk about this game. What are the keys to the game presented by Wells Fargo that for the Falcons to beat the Super Bowl champions?
Yeah, let's start on the defensive side of the ball, and you got to stop the run. And again, I kind of talked about it before, because Isaiah Pacheco is not in this game, you can't think, oh yeah, we're automatically going to stop the run, because when you have that attitude, that's when somebody else all of a sudden just sneaks up on you, and they end up nickel and diming you throughout the course of the game. 4 yards here, 7 yards there, 14 yards here. Then you look up late in the third quarter, early in the fourth, and you see a Chiefs team that might have over 100 yards rushing.
Right.
This has to be a game that you still focus on stopping the run. And yes, you're going to make Patrick Mahomes throw the football, but you have to eliminate one side of the game. If you let Patrick Mahomes have the running game and the passing game, that's when it could be a long night. So stop the run is still first and foremost.
Yeah, stopping the run with your running backs, with your fullbacks, but also stopping the run with Patrick Mahomes as well, because he is so good on his feet. What is your second key to the game tonight?
Yeah, we got to get better on third down conversions on the offensive side of the ball. Again, 4 for 18 through the first 2 games is just not good enough. Yes, the Falcons were able to come away with a victory with that critical 2-minute drill against Philadelphia on the road last week, but sitting at 22% on third down conversions is going to be hard to win in this game. You've got to have third down conversions. You've got to have turnover margin. That's been a struggle so far. How do you convert better on third down? You get more legitimate third down conversions, meaning 3rd and 1, 3rd and 2, 3rd and 4, where you can open up your playbook a little bit, where you can turn around and hand the ball off to Bijan Robinson on a 3rd down. You stay out of those with negative yardage plays, no holding penalties, no procedure penalties. That's putting you back at 3rd and 15, 3rd and 12. You got to stay on schedule, but you got to convert better on third down.
Yes, I need to note about the penalties. Last week against the Philadelphia Eagles, this Falcons offense had no procedural operational penalties against them, which is a humongous win for this Falcons, for the trenches, for the Falcons offensive line as well. So let's see if we can continue it tonight. What is your third and final key to the game?
Let's continue to make Bijan a focal point of this offense. I mean, I think this guy gets even better every single week when he gets experience. Yes, you got to turn around, you got to give him the ball, but you got to continue to use him as a decoy sometimes. Put him in the slot, motion him across the formation, fake the football to him. Put him in the backfield, run some more play action with him, because he's going to draw so many eyes because of the respect that he's gained early on in his career. And I'm telling you, it's only going to make the rest of this offense better. So give him the football a lot. He's got to touch the ball at least 15 to 20 times in this game, but the times that he's not touching it, they need to give the impression that he is going to touch it with some type of a play fake or looking his direction. He's going to draw defense's eyes over there, and he's going to open up a big hole on the other side of the field.
I mentioned this last week on Falcons in Focus, Falcons Final Whistle. I got to go on and be a little guest on there. It was kind of fun. And I mentioned how comfortable Bijan Robinson looked in the run game last week against the Philadelphia Eagles. You just seen so much maturity in him and so much growth in him the last couple of weeks and throughout the offseason as well. So he should be a focal point every single week, so we can see if he'll be able to be a focal point tonight. I have a key to the game. I have said it every single week that I'm not going to make this a weekly occurrence, and I will say it again. I'm not making this a weekly occurrence. But I do have a key to the game tonight. I need this Falcons defense to make sure that they end the game with the ball, like with the Falcons offense. I need the Falcons defense to make sure that Patrick Mahomes is not in the game with the ball in his hands. He is lethal. And if you give him 20 seconds, if you give him 5 seconds, if you give him a 2-minute drill, it doesn't matter. He is going to do something special with the rock if you give him any time to use it.
Taylor, I've always said this, and I said it earlier this week on our Falcons Audible podcast, that Patrick Mahomes, to me and my generation, is like the Brett Favre or the Peyton Manning. Because every time I played against those guys, I always said, this game is not over until there are 000 on the clock. Yeah. And that is the exact same case with Patrick Mahomes. To your point, if he's got 27 seconds or a minute and 27 seconds, it doesn't matter if he's got 2 timeouts or 0 timeouts. This guy is Houdini, and the game is not over until it is over.
Yeah, I mean, his nickname is Houdini for a reason. I mean, the man, he can make magic where there seems to be nothing happening for him. It's incredible to watch, and I'm hoping that there are some Surrender Cobras this weekend against for the Chiefs fans and not for the Falcons fans, because Patrick Mahomes does not get to finish the game off with the rock. But, I mean, I think that the Falcons can do this. I think they can pull it off.
Absolutely.
Big upset.
Harness that momentum from last week. You got the home crowd. Let's go.
You got the home crowd. Taylor Swift could be in the building tonight.
She could be. Don't worry about her.
I'm excited. I'm going to go and look for her in just a second, because that would be really cool to see the most famous human being in the entire world. Sorry to everyone that doesn't, want to hear any more about Taylor Swift in the NFL, but who cares?
Get used to it.
Get used to it. She's here to stay. Anyway, we are back in Mercedes-Benz Stadium tonight. The roof is open. It's actually getting a little hot in here, but what we're getting ready to see is Freddie Falcon do a couple more stunts today. And last time we were in Mercedes-Benz Stadium, he actually broke a Guinness World Record for the highest indoor rope swing drop from the middle of the roof all the way down to the field. So we're going to leave you with the video to recap that Guinness World Record that Freddie Falcon broke. But until next week, we'll be back here. It's Saints week next week.
We'll be back here, but Taylor will be coming down from the rafters next week.
I will not be doing that. I am not doing that. Don't even. This is going to be part of our production meeting next week. No. I was asked to put a hot dog costume on this week, and I said no. Anyway, enjoy the game. It's going to kick off is at 8:20 tonight, so enjoy the game on Sunday Night Football.
to hear it, and then a second time as an actual jump.
Okay, the bird is sitting on the beam if the surveyors need to get a new shot this morning. The Guinness Book of World Record. Freddie the Falcon. Mercedes-Benz Stadium.
You've achieved the Guinness World Records title, and you are now officially the Mason.